July 11th, 2020, northern Wisconsin. Dead calm conditions, Chequamegon National Forest. It was an unremarkable evening with 3 of the 4 audio recorders that I had out that night. But the 4th recorder caught some extraordinary audio that I'd like to share with you today. Although the theme for them that evening at that location was stomping or thumping, or in some cases what sounded like 60-ton boulders being dropped from the sky, I heard all manner of strange noises. Not strange in a novel sense. I had heard most of these sounds before, many times with a few of them, but it doesn't matter how many times you hear an unknown sound, it is still by definition unknown, even though we all have a pretty good idea by now what's causing them. I guess when I say unknown, I'm really referring to my cluelessness as to exactly what these beings really are. I will play all the weirdness here for you in chronological order, with the caveat that most of the thumps didn't transfer to YouTube. These are the clips that I had to omit for this video, because the thumps, or the stomps, or whatever people are calling them these days, were either too faint or too low to be audible after the processing to YouTube. I just gotta jump in here for a second and comment about this one. This is a really good whoop knock. Let's listen to this one again. Okay, I promise these thumps will get better. See what I mean about losing their punch when uploaded to YouTube? I included them because I wanted to show how sharp they appeared in Spectrocam view. On my laptop, this second thump is audible. I thought the first thumps I heard were from distant car doors slamming shut. But after hearing hundreds of them, and no sounds of cars coming or going along this, the only road in or out of this part of the Chequamegon, and no sounds of music, which would typically accompany such a human gathering, there would most certainly be some alcohol involved in my expert opinion as well. And with the alcohol and the myriads of car door slams, I would expect to hear unmistakable party sounds, right? Well, just hear for yourself. Party logic aside, some of these thumps and vocals blow the car door theory right out of the water anyways. So here's the one gibberish capture that put it over the top for me. To this point, I was still on the fence with these distant voices. They could still be human after all, just too faint for our ears to discern, I thought. But as you listen closer, listen to this inhuman trill, or vibrato, towards the end of the utterance. Now I have captured this trill in association with strange vocals in previous videos. This is what they sound like. And with potential language recorded back in fall of 2019. Okay, I have a couple of potential infrasound signals here for you again. And I want to get you folks up to speed with a recent revelation I had about screening for them. First of all, I never record on nights where there's any kind of wind, light and variable only. I've learned from mistakes past that it's just not worth it. I use the National Weather Service website's hourly forecast page, which is this right here, which shows wind intensity and direction on an hourly basis for my immediate area. They aren't always right, but they have about a 95% success rate for what I do here, and tonight was as calm as can be. I disclaim this at the onset here to illustrate that these inaudible bumps down here at the bottom do look a lot like wind distortion on the microphone, like this here. But I don't just rely on the weatherman to verify these signals, which are very rare by the way. I still have to assume that they are slight wind distortion before going forward with them. That is where it gets dicey, and I have wasted countless hours in the past vetting them before finally throwing them out. What I have discovered is that when considering that my recorders do record in stereo, and rationalizing that any wind gust, no matter how even and uniform it may seem to brush across the face of my recorder, it will always distort the two mics at slightly different times on the file. I can just quickly isolate and zoom on the purported signal like I'm doing here. Click and drag the middle line here to expand either the left side or the right, the left side being the top and the right side being the bottom, to find discrepancies between the two channels. I usually just expand one channel for better viewing when in normal scan mode, but when I come across a suspected infrasound signal, doing this click and drag thing up and down saves me a bunch of time. Then I can just cook up my pitch raising recipe so we can all hear it, which is applied thusly. I first isolate the signal, including about a second of white noise before and after it. I do this so I can sample it for noise reduction later. Then I use the low pass tool at 75 Hz at full reduction. I then use the Ctrl+R shortcut to repeat this once. Then apply the pitch raise tool at full increase. And I do this twice as well with the Ctrl+R shortcut. Then I take a sample of that annoying white noise just before the signal to use for my profile for noise reduction. I then use the Ctrl+R trick once again to reduce it until it sounds good, being careful not to go too far where you lose some potential enunciation. And yes, in case you're wondering, I am aware that the infrasound barrier is typically around 20 Hz, but I said I screened my low-pass settings at 75. Yep, that's not a misspeak. I have found that some of the spoken syllables at these low frequencies do rise up above the barrier, even though the vowels will probably remain hidden. This is no different than the way you and I enunciate, as our syllables tend to spike upwards as we use our lips and tongue to separate the vowels. I believe I get a better quote-unquote picture, if you will, with the 75 Hz setting, as the 25 Hz setting I used to use was just too mushy. I'm going to stop here because we got to talk about this. This is a point where I realized something really strange was going on, and coming from me, that's saying a lot. I gave these bells considerable consideration in the time it's taken me to make this video. And what I've come to realize is that this middle of the night, middle of the forest bell ringing would be just as amazing to me if it were mere people doing it, whether they be from some local pagan Facebook group or whatever, than if they were made by our unknown forest beings. No church nearby, no human habitation within miles. Laughable, really, if you knew the location. So who's carrying an old church bell around in the middle of the Chequamegon in the middle of the night? Is July the 11th, or maybe the evening before the 12th, somehow significant on the pagan calendar? Should I Google find the coven nearest to me? I really don't want to do that, to be honest. Anyways, the most intriguing thing about all of this is what happens next. All of those sounds that you just heard from the bells on happened within 5 minutes or so from the bells to this point. And what you're about to listen to here is the sound of a black bear walking down the one-lane gravel road. I know it's a bear because of its breathing and the cadence of its footsteps. They have a skipping quality to them, like a tt-tt-tt-tt-tt, indicative of a quadruped, whereas a biped would have a steady rhythm like a t-t-t-t. I've never heard a black bear in such a hurry to get somewhere before. Pay close attention to his breathing, and I'm pretty sure he's walking down the middle of the road. Listen to the gravel underfoot, with no twigs breaking. This fellow does not have food on the brain right now, and by the sounds of it, something has spooked him out of the area. The easiest path for him to vacate the area is the road. It also gives him the best line of sight if he were to be followed. really not sure how I'm supposed to wrap this discussion up, other than to say, if I thought I was clueless as to what's going on out there before listening to this evening's audio, I am several increments further down the rabbit hole now that I've had time to digest it all. The only way to do this discussion any measure of service at all is just to pose some questions. If the bell ringing was done by regular human folk, where did they get the forest troll heard 5 minutes after it? Did they conjure it? I'm going to take a pass on that rabbit hole, thank you very much. Is there any sect or cult or pagan holiday that observes July the 11th or the evening before July the 12th? Do these forest beings have their own religion? And is there any record of a missing large church bell in Sawyer County? Does anyone have expert knowledge on bells or bells in the night? Considering the bells were struck at exactly 1:37 a.m. Central Time, it does not appear as though this ceremony, or whatever this was arranged around our system of timekeeping. Does this mean anything? Was there any celestial significance to that exact time and date? I'm sure there's 1,000 more questions that I could include here, but I'll leave some meat on the bone for you folks down in the comments. And thank you for watching. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing. Click on the bell to get notifications when I post a new video.